insurance company that the damage done, they would cover all of the insulation because of the smoke damage to the insulation, but they would only pay for 50% of the roof to be redone, which means I've got to pay for the other 50%. Now, I can pretty much imagine that those of you who know me well know that that was a bit of a shock to me, but it is what it is. But I was a little bit upset, but what upset me came next. And that is that they have discovered that there is a problem with some of the roofing at the front end of the house. And when I say a bit of a problem, that the roof has leaked enough that the boards on which the tile and everything else is adhered to has rotted. And that means they are going to have to, and it's all around the chimney area of the house, which means it has nothing to do with the fire, but they cannot redo that without replacing it properly. And not only that, they're telling me that some of the brackets that hold the joists together are rusting. So it's a major problem, and that means major money, you know, and that made me angry. Now, I wanted to talk about that because what I wanted to talk about is what do I do to get through that anger and move on? And, you know, when you dig deeply into your feelings, it's amazing what you realize. And so what I did was I didn't get angry at the insurance people, but I was angry inside. And I wonder if any of you know what that feels like. And then I was holding in that anger, trying to control it, because I knew that it wasn't their fault. You know, it wasn't their fault. It was just, I was angry about hearing this. And then what I realized when I processed it a little bit more was that, you know, more money now means a reduced quality of life for me, all right, because I'm retired. So whatever money I have has to last me the rest of my life. And therefore, if you're going to take a chunk of this money away, I'm not going to be able to replace that. And so that really, I realized then that I was sad about that. And then it was really interesting, because one of the things that I have learned is that if you want to balance out anger and sadness and those sort of things, the best thing you can use is compassion. And, you know, it's really amazing how that works. So as soon as I had, you know, and I literally did cry when they were telling me this. I don't mind telling you that. You know, I was so sad to hear that I cried, and not a whole lot, no, not big sobs or anything, but they could hear I was emotionally upset by it. And then what I did was, after I finished the telephone call, I, you know, did a bit of processing, and then I wrote to them and said, thank you so much for making the call, and I have the compassion and empathy to actually say to them that cannot be an easy call to make. And I just want you to know that I appreciate the fact that, you know, as difficult as it was to hear, I am certain it was equally difficult to give me that news. And that I hope you will understand that, you know, this is the reason why I got upset. It had nothing to do with you. It had to do with the quality of my life. And so the truth is, and I think you all know that reality says that even though I was totally insured and overinsured, that even so, they're going to end up by telling me they could not save these things, but I will not get them all replaced. That's not the way it works, all right? They're going to say, well, this was already 10 years old, so we're only going to give you 50% of that. And this was, you know, obviously more than that old, and therefore we're only going to give you X percent of that. So I could end up, and if you think about this, I could end up with losing $10,000 worth of stuff and only getting 5 or maybe less back. And that 5 has to replace what I lost, which is impossible at today's prices. So You understand the fact that I'm now going to have to use money I thought I would have available to replace things. I'm now going to have to spend that on the roof. But it is what it is. And I have to believe that I will be just fine. And I've lived without a lot of my stuff for 3 months now. And, I will just slowly replace what I have to as and when I can. And that's all that I can do. But can you all see that what I did was I got angry and sad. And, the cycle of loss, we know it's going to happen. When I heard it, the first thing was, oh no, denial. And then anger, and then sadness. We know that's all in the cycle of loss. And the way I compensated is to be compassionate. Now, the other thing was, I was talking to Yvonne about it that same day, and Yvonne knows me very, very well. And she was saying to me, but you were going to need to replace the roof anyway. So that's not money that is new money to you. But the difference is that I know that the roofer that the insurance company uses will be a top of the line roofer, as opposed to I might have got El Cheapo roofer in to do that. So in a way, because they'll be using a top roofer, I will probably be spending the same amount to get half the roof, half of it done, if you know what I mean. But on the other hand, I know it will be properly done. And if the insurance company's person is doing it, I think I've got better recourse in case there's a problem of any sort. So that's where my anger was at. If you have any comments on that one, just let me know if any of you can relate to this, or I'm pretty certain that you can understand where that was quite a big hit for me this week. And especially, I know I finished the call with, and happy Christmas, And then I remember I am so grateful to be alive this Christmas. And I hope I still will be next Christmas if I continue to be careful. So in a way, does it make sense that I felt helpless? Right? It wasn't a case of, well, I won't bother to do it. I have to do it because otherwise there is a mold issue. And that's going to be a big thing. And so from that perspective, it's got to be done before it gets any worse. And, that would affect my health and everything else. So this is, I'm not helpless. I just have to put on my big girl underwear and move forward and just go find the money and make it happen. And that is what I will be doing. But it was pretty amazing. So again, one of the things that I do to compensate for negative stuff is I get creative. All right, so Jody's going, understandable anger. And my comment is, I just want to send you a big hug. That's a huge shock to endure. Yes. Hi, Sharon. Sharon's saying sometimes when companies know the client has to pay part of the bill, they will help lower your bill. Well, I must have, and that actually, thank you, Sharon. That brings tears to my eyes because I know the insurance guy understood that because I told him the truth. I said, I'm sorry to react, but this is what happens. Hi, Kimmy. And, he did say they will do everything they can to help me. And I believe them, but people still have to pay for doing it and make a profit. And I understand that. But thank you, in a way, for mentioning that, Sharon, because I don't think that they're out to get me at all. I think they're going to do everything they can. I'm sorry. So it is what I did. Part of what I did was, do more. Trina, good to see you. Part part of what I did was to carry on baking and doing things ready for Christmas. And one of the interesting things that I found, I'm a great one for reuse and recycle. I found that if you take all the bits that are left over, for example, I was making some coconut things, and it gave me great joy to find if I took the leftover coconut and put it in my little mixer. I've got a little smoothie mixer with the leftover chocolate from making some chocolates, and I ground it all up. And then I used that to put sprinkles on, chocolates and things. You remember last week I had a batch of shortbread that just fell apart, and I kept all the fall apart stuff, and it's been great to use as a crumble over. I had baked apple, and I just put some of that shortbread crumbly stuff over the top of it, and it tasted wonderful. So get creative with even your disasters. If you have a baking disaster, it is really, really important that that you do that. So good to see you, Kimmy, as well. All right, Sandy, good to see you and welcome back. So the other question I have, and I wonder whether this is just me, the frustration that my medications all seem to run out at the most difficult times of the year. And it must have been that it happened once, and of course now it just continues. And so part of me goes, if I replace my medicines every 3 months, then obviously that happens. And I was really proud of myself that I had a telephone call with my doctor yesterday, and I literally had a list of things to report to him. And I included how my mental health was. I included what I was doing on WeFit. I included the overwhelm and frustration with the fact that what's going on at the house, and I won't be back until, they tell me I won't be back until April. I made sure he knew all of that. But what I did was I said, this is what's happened, and this is what I'm doing about it. I said, my blood glucose is up because I'm Christmas baking, but I'm going to be working on it. But obviously, I can't really work on it until after the Christmas baking is done. I'm doing my best, but it's not good enough. And then I can remember that my doctor said to me, well, your A1C is due. And I said, I'm not taking my A1C until April. Just, you can make a note on that. I'm not doing it now. Why? Why would I take it now? I know it's going to be up. It's just going to be more stress for me. So my attitude is, give me another 3 months to get under control, and then I'll do it. Jodie's saying that she had a scare this week that brought her to tears as well. When the nutritionist explained all the supplements I'm going to need to be on for the rest of my life after surgery, and how much that was going to cost you. Right, so what sort of supplements will you need to take? Once you do, you're having a gastric surgery, right? The bypass. Is it a bypass or a sleeve? And by the way, this is that she needs to have it. It's not that she's already lost over 100 pounds, and they need her to do this now. For those of you who don't know, Jodie got lymphedema after having cancer, and that ballooned her right up, and she's got 100 pounds down, but now they need to help her by doing the gastric sleeve. Thank you, Jodie. Welcome back, Sandy. So, did anybody find any fun uses for dryer lint? I talked about that last week, and I had great joy where I actually think I have found a really good use for it. And I'm just doing the experiments now, but I will, I tell you, I'm making felt pads out of it because my sense is that I'm also mixing it with all the hair that I, sweep up, because my hair falls out a lot. I'm mixing the dryer lint and my hair, and I'm making little felt pads from it. I'm wetting it all and then turning it into little pads, because I realized that slugs are not going to like trying to crawl over that with all the hair in it and everything. Does that make sense? And I'm going to make little squares that I'm going to put around my seedlings this spring. And because it's made of lint, the water will be able to permeate through it. But because it's also got my hair in it and everything, I don't think the slugs are going to like crawling over it. And if it works, I think it's brilliant. But I will let you know once I've done it. It's a very slow process. And it's a bit like I was saying earlier, I like to reuse things like my toilet rolls and stuff for packaging at Christmas time. It doesn't take a lot of work, but it definitely, just adds to the presentation. And if you remember, all my bags this year are golden. So this will, literally just blend in well with the gift bags that I've got. All right, so I was talking last week about the joy I had in terms of, I found that living in a small apartment was really restricting the amount of steps I was doing a day. And that's why I got the Wii Fit. You will remember that. And I really have to say that I have done now over 30 days. And I have done it every day except one. And that one day I made up the 30 minutes the following day. So instead of doing 30 minutes the next day, I did an hour. And so I have averaged 30 minutes a day on Wii Fit every day. Now, one thing that I have always talked to you about is that if you can't walk, or if you're not feeling well enough to do that, that you can just do arm rolls and it will raise your blood heart rate. You know that, right? So here's what I found as well. For those of you who are going, oh yeah, but I get too bored doing this. If you get too bored doing it, you don't want to do it, right? That's your excuse. So here's what I would recommend. There are all sorts of videos on YouTube of people who are walking parks and things, or walking through autumn leaves or whatever. And or what I did this week was that I wanted to get some extra steps in. So I literally had a program, I was binge watching something on my computer, and I just sat right here. And just while I was watching it, I was just doing this until I picked up the steps I wanted. And I literally have now on my Wii Fit, that one of the things is a walk around the island. And I found that I now run and do this at the same time. And I'm pushing up my heart rate. So what I wanted to ask you is, do you realize that if you are not finding 30 minutes a day to help your heart rate come up and get more healthy, you may be sorry. With this pandemic going on, we're not getting as much fresh air. By the way, you also know that when I do my Wii Fit, I open my door to my patio, so I've got fresh air coming in while I'm doing it. And I'm doing everything I can to say this is not a maybe. This now is as important to me as brushing my teeth in the morning. And I don't start my day until I have done that exercise. Why? Because I realize if I don't do this, I am going to pay the price for it. I believe, just my personal view, that the biggest challenge we will have in about 6 months, maybe less, is mental health issues. That regardless of all that is happening with the pandemic, people are really going to start having repercussions because they won't have used this time well. So not only are they struggling with work and everything else, but then they also going to have these mental health issues because they've isolated, they haven't taken the time to learn a new hobby or do something that will entertain their mind. They're just sitting feeling sorry for themselves, and that is a one-way slope down the hill. And believe you me, I've done that one. So what I'm saying to you is every day I get achievement, right? Because every day I get the Wii machine telling me that I've done 30 minutes. And it says, well done, 30 minutes done. And I go, wow, that's awesome. By the way, I've also noticed that when I started a month ago, whatever it was, I could hardly do the short run that they do. And now I don't even, I actually play games with the short run now. You know, when I say play games, I can run it now, and I, don't even think twice about it. I can do the long run now, and I can make it all the way around the island between running and doing, doing these in between. I can make it all the way around the island, and that is 15 minutes to get around that. So question, how many of you are saying, I don't have time to do that? And if that is your reason, think about it very carefully. Think about it very, very carefully, because if you're not looking after you in this pandemic, and for a lot of my viewers, I know some of you are south of the equator, but most of the viewers are north of the equator, and that means we're in winter. And I know that a lot of you on the east side are struggling with very severe snow. You can't get out and walk and do things. And therefore, what are you doing to exercise your body? I have found that, if you have things like Roku or whatever, you can put a yoga program on. There is so much on YouTube that you could do. Yes, Jody is saying that when she was talking at her fitness appointment, her health appointment, she asked about the Wii and was told it was a perfect option to incorporate fun and fitness, no matter your fitness level. I want to tell you, Jody, that, and as I've said many, many times, if I start doing some of the yoga things, quite a few of the things I have to hold on a chair to do it. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I don't take that I failed. I take it that, hey, I can do this as long as I hold on to a chair. The other thing that I find is that it'll say, and bend over and touch your feet. Now, quite honestly, I can, at this stage, only touch my knees. And I just burst, I normally laugh and go, yeah, right. In your dreams, I will touch my toes. Quite honestly, right now, I'm happy to be able to touch my knees. So I've got a lot of learning to do and a lot of flexibility to build up. But what I am amazed at is I can feel the difference. And Jody's saying that they're allowing the Wii to fulfill the fitness component of her program. There you go. And so you see, this is about, but you don't have to get a Wii to do it, okay? What I'm saying is you can stand in front of your television, if you've got, or your computer, and put on a walk around a park somewhere, because they got them on YouTube. I went and researched that. And you can do it if you want to. The question is, can you do 10 minutes a day? I'm not asking you to do 30. That's just what I choose to do because I can. But can you do 10? Or can you do 10 twice a day? The other thing that I've noticed, which has stunned me, is that when I started, I was doing 30 minutes of yoga because I couldn't do any of the other things. Now I am doing 20 minutes of aerobic stuff, minimum. And I use the yoga 10 minutes to cool down. That is what has happened to me in just a month. Now, I need to tell you, my weight is going up. Yeah. And I'm not going to worry too much about, because it will affect my mental health. All I know is I'm going to keep doing it. And it is really important to me. So here is the thing that I do know in when you deal in reality. When you deal in reality, you will find the time for the things that are important to you. Think about that. You find the time to brush your teeth every morning. You find the time to make your bed. You find the time to load the dishwasher if you're lucky enough to have one. You know what I mean? You find that time. And how do you find it? By adjusting your day. Sandy's saying, I'm dealing with so much insulin and sensitivity right now. I can't add extra to my normal daily steps. I will get there. Exactly, Sandy. And that is a medical thing. All right. And I quite agree with you that you've got enough going on medically that you're dealing with. One of the things, I used to donate a lot of time to halfway houses and places where they had addiction, stuff. And one of the things that I learned by being somebody that volunteered to those places was the one thing that I remember them telling me was they only deal with one addiction at a time. So if you happen to be a drinker and you also smoke, they won't ask you to give up both, right? They will work on you getting rid of the drinking, and then afterwards they'll work on getting rid of the smoking. Makes sense. So Sandy, as soon as your insulin sensitivity has balanced out, you will have more mind bandwidth, if you like, to be able to put that to another use. So absolutely. And I think that's looking after you. Jody will tell you that, having the mental bandwidth to look after yourself is a difficult one, because it's easier not to, quite honestly. And I realized that my blood glucose was going like this. And I was waking up every morning to numbers of, hang on, I've got to do both official languages, so I have to look. Above 143 in American, and that's above 8 in Canadian and the rest of the world. But it's like, that's too high. And yet it was going all the way down to 5 during the day, but that overnight one was really causing me a problem. And it was one of the things that I said to my doctor, which is, I just want you to know I do have a problem with my overnight blood glucose. And I left it at that. So now what I've done is I have gone back to what I know works. What do I know works? Meal prepping, and doing it the right way. Trina's saying, I'm lucky to have a dog which needs daily walks and looks at me with a sorrowful eyes if it doesn't get out of the door. But I too have put on a lot of weight, but not beating up on myself over it. Trina, I've made a point of asking absolutely everybody I know in my real life as opposed to this one. And they're all saying that they've put on weight. All right. And hi, Wanda, welcome back again. Wanda's saying, I take daily walks each day for my mental health. Good. Please do things, literally make time in your day to be creative, watch funny things, watch funny things and exercise while you're laughing, and by the way, you can literally, if you think about it, if you just did this, how difficult is this? But you understand this is part of your upper body is part of what is really important to exercise, because otherwise we end up, we spend our life stooped over a computer like this. So stretch these muscles, okay? And, if you want to just do this or box, do anything, but get this. All right, Kimmy's saying, hi, Em, good to see you. Kimmy's saying that she's gained 20 pounds but lost 6 of it. I have put on all the weight that I lost at the beginning of the year and then some. So I'm now on a serious thing of doing that. So let's do this together. This is not about pass or fail. This is about how much do I care about myself. And you understand my point that if everybody that I've talked to in my real life, probably I haven't had this discussion with Benji, but I'm pretty certain he hasn't put on weight. All right. But, why? Because he is consistent about what he puts into his body, and he is consistent about exercise. So it's not rocket science, as Benji will tell you. If you want to change your weight, watch what you're putting in your mouth, right? Yes, Kimmy's saying I'm not going to stress over it, just one day at a time. So here's my thing. I know what to do. Thanks to Jody, I know what to do. I just need to do it. By the way, last night I did brilliantly well all the way until midnight. I really did. I had some eggs on toast for breakfast, and I hadn't had eggs on toast for a long time. I had a salad for lunch with some feta cheese. And then I made homemade chicken noodle soup that was really good for dinner. And I allowed myself some raspberries and cream for dessert. And I was really proud of myself. And then a bit later on, I had a piece of cheese, no crackers, but, just a wedge of cheese. And I was going, you're doing really well. This is good, Sal. And then I took my blood glucose at 10:30 so that I could work out what's happening overnight. And then at midnight, listen to me, at midnight, I consumed a whole bag of licorice all sorts. A whole bag, not one or two. I'm not home, Em. I won't be home until April, they think. They haven't even started the rebuild yet. It's just about to start now. Thank you for asking. So you understand my point is we will always make time for the things that we want to make time for. Jody has to do certain things to be able to have this surgery. So she has to make time for a lot more doctor's appointments. She has to make time to change her diet even more. She has to make time to have, all sorts of things. She doesn't want to, but if she wants to have that operation, which they're allowing her to have, she needs to do these things. So Jody, am I correct? It's not that you have the time, you have to make the time. And Trina's saying the body holds on to weight if in fight or flight, which we're all in right now. Yes, and I've got Trina, I also understand that I've got the double whammy. Not only am I dealing with pandemic, but I'm dealing with all the stress of the house as well. But here's what I keep asking myself. Think about this. I ask myself, at what point is it a good reason? And at what point is it just an excuse? So like Jody, and I'd like us all to take Jody as our example here, because like Jody, I can either do what needs to be done so I can get the right results, or I can use the excuse. Even though the excuse is factual, it's still, in my view, it's still my excuse. So Jeannie, who also is struggling with the rebuild of her house after a fire, says, our builder is talking about sliding doors from our kitchen to the deck, even while he's on vacation with his family in Florida. Now, that touches my soul. That is so cute. You see, I think that is really lovely, And, there's part of you that goes, wouldn't that be lovely to have those sliding doors onto the deck? But also, is it within the insurance, or are you going to have to pay extra for it? So I don't blame the builder for talking about it, but, all the questions I'm asking my people is, yes, and is that covered by the insurance? I'm making sure that every decision I make, that I know whether this is going to get covered by the insurance or not. And Trina's saying, Sal, you're on my mind, and sending lots of hugs. Well, I want to tell you, Trina, that I really don't think I would have coped as well as I have if it were not for you guys. And I do want you all to know that you have done a wonderful job of helping me walk my way through, because I can talk to you about it. So Jeannie's saying that they did have those sliding doors onto the patio before, so it's definitely they will be covered again. That's awesome. So I did go out and visit my neighbors at my house, my singed house, as I call it. I went out and had dinner with them on Monday night. And then I really enjoyed that, because you could tell that my neighbor really loves to cook, for people. And she had such joy in doing that. And what I was concerned about was, whether the Christmas stuff that she'd invited us to was too much. And I said to her, I just need to have this honest conversation with you, because you invite both neighbors, it's our little pod, the four of us. And I said, but is it too much? And if so, you need to be honest about it so we can do it. And what I said was that, we're all going to go out for Christmas to eat Christmas dinner. We're not going to cook it. We're going to go out and have it together. I thought, that would be a fair compromise. So, all right, Trina, good to see you, and big hugs to you, and thank you so much for popping in, and Merry Christmas if we don't see you until then. Trina, just so you know, we will not be doing a broadcast next Friday. We will be doing 2 on Saturday. There was a 78% vote to do 2 on the Saturday instead, just so that you know. All right. So now then, again, I want to go back to the vaccine again on the be prepared thing. Just know when you are likely to get it. I was discussing with Marnie, as I said earlier, I was talking to Marnie last night, and she said she actually thinks that all sorts of people should get the vaccine before she does. Why? She's working from home. She's pretty safe. She's looking after herself and everything else. And she said, I would like to see, and she's 20 years younger, 30 years younger. No, she's about 20 years younger than I am. So she's saying that as far as she's concerned, she would voluntarily let other people go ahead of her because of that. And I thought that was interesting. And I said, who would you want to let go ahead of you for these vaccines? And she said, I would like to have the shop owners, small business people go ahead of me. And I thought that was really interesting, that she would have that much consideration of others. How many of you see the love in that? And she said, people who have to go out and have to intermingle with the public should go ahead of those of us who are working from home. That's her view. And I thought that was really great thinking. So I know that, I'm really happy that all the first responders are getting covered, all and the people in nursing homes are getting covered, absolutely. I don't think people of my age with I've got pre-existing conditions, but they're, not critical ones. So I don't think I will probably be on the list until about February in terms of my ability to have it. It'll be interesting to see when it is. So to me, it's like, do you know when you are likely to get on the list? And, just be aware. And again, if you are isolating well and you're not going out and not doing things, would you be willing to wait to let other people who probably need it more than you do go ahead of you? Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So in terms of our feelings, what I wanted to make sure that you understand is, can you see that I was scared about not hearing about my friend and the cancer operation on his brain? And I wanted to make sure you understand that I'm scared because I haven't heard. And now I'm doubly scared to make the telephone call. But on the other hand, I realize that the best way to deal with fear, I was talking about this earlier, is to come from a place of compassion. So, on empathy. So what I was thinking of, if I were in her shoes and she's getting emails from me every day to send her a hug, would the fact that I then phone make it worse for her? And so I look at it and go, that is really important to me. And, you know, for those of you who have been through this sort of critical situation, I thought I'd take a moment to ask you, what would you recommend? All right. Where I don't even know if he survived the operation, but that's my stuff. And so I'm making sure she knows I'm there for her because I email her every day to tell her that. But can you see that there's part of me that goes, if I phone, I could be adding to the stress rather than minimizing it? And so I wondered if anybody would like to give any input about if, when they went through a critical situation in their family, whether the telephone calls made it worse or better. And I don't think we've ever discussed that. And I thought we would. And while I'm waiting for people to come back to me on that, I found a quote that said, the opposite of anger is not calmness, it is empathy. So whenever you get angry, remember to do something that is empathetic. Hi, Sam. Good to see you, and hugs back to you as well. Good, really good to see you. You found it better when people called. Kimmy. All right. So Jeannie's saying about the vaccine thing, she's saying that my friend is generous in her thinking. We want the vaccine as soon as we can due to our age and preconditions. Yes. So, you know, everybody's going to need to make that choice, all right, as to whether or not they go and get it. And I'm pretty certain that now that they've started the volume production, it will escalate pretty well. And I saw this as well, and it said, instead of putting others in their place, put yourself in their place, all right? Because that's what empathy is about, all right? Which is make sure that you do that. One of the things in terms of our mental health is to remember it's not all about us, okay? It is not all about us. And hi, Pia, good to see you. Thank you. Pia's saying, when my mom had stage 1 ovarian cancer, it made it worse between me and my brother because I couldn't drive at the time and he had to take time out of work to do it. Interesting. All right, so Kimmy's saying, if they call and we talk, it makes me feel better. Okay, so that's interesting. And Jody's saying, when we were going through that critical situation, it became so exhausting to repeat the same information to each caller that we had a few close friends take over fielding the calls. That's where my empathy went. The other thing is this. If I know that I am high on her list of friends, very high, that do you understand I believe I'm being a better friend by not asking her to call me. All right. And not demanding that she talk about it. For all I know, he might not have made it through that operation. And so my attitude is when she's good and ready, I am sure she will let me know. Makes sense. And how many of you heard the story about talking to my doctor where my doctor said, you know, you're due for your A1C? And I said, no, I'm not taking it until April. How many of you can see I took control back over my mental health there? Why? I think I'm going to sneeze. In case I do. Because I know that it's up and it's Christmas. And I want 3 months to get back under control. And so, you know, I waited 6 months or more to have it done recently. I know what I'm doing. I know I check it every day. You all know that I work hard at it. So, you know, and I'm pre-diabetic. I'm not full diabetic. So I'm up and I need to get it down, but it's like, I don't need the extra stress right now. So can you understand that taking control of, even though the doctor said you're due, I said, yeah, I know I'm due for one, but I'm not taking it until April. And in my mind, I'm going at the earliest. Because, you know, it's like, I know what's going on. I know what it's going to say. And it's not essential to me right now. I also was really glad that I told my doctor what I was going through emotionally, because I think it's important that he heard, and I kept wording it. This is what's happened. I've put on weight, but this is what I'm now doing. My blood glucose is up, but this is what I am now doing. This has happened, but this is what I'm now doing. So in other words, on the one side, I am aware. Secondly, I'm doing something about it. Do you understand how important that is for my doctor to know that? Because I'm not hiding it. I'm making sure he has the right information that he needs about me. But on the other hand, I am also taking responsibility. Jody said, I understand how terribly difficult it is to be waiting for that news, Sal. It is not easy, and I hear on how torn you are. Your empathy for others always takes precedence over your own comfort. Yeah, you know me well enough to know that, Jody, and it's just like, I'm getting close to making the call. I don't mind telling you, because I'm getting overly scared now. Sandy's saying, I'm also due, and because of the pump grant, they need to see it. But with the virus numbers as they are, I don't want to do it. Exactly. And quite honestly, I think, quite honestly, Sandy, this whole pandemic will lead to different ways of doing things. I am pretty certain within the near future, Sandy, we will have a take your own A1C kit available to us. All right. And I think that the pandemic is going to create a whole new way of doing stuff. I am pretty certain none of us ever thought that we could take our blood pressure by putting 2 fingers on a little machine next to our phone, and it would, give us blood pressure reading. I don't have that yet, but I'm thinking about getting it. Sharon is saying, as far as calling your friend, I think the emails are wonderful. I didn't like repeating the story over and over. By email, you're letting her know that you are there for her in any capacity she needs. Yeah, I just changed the wording a little bit every day, Sharon, that you're quite right. Sandy's saying, yeah, that they have them in the US. Yes, so, Jody's saying that I had one mailed to me, a home A1C kit. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, that we're going to have these things available now. I wonder, hi, we're going to wonder saying, I went through something with a good friend that was very sick. I waited for the family to let me know how she was doing. I was scared to hear the bad news. I'm not so much scared to hear the bad news, is I'm scared that I cannot do it. I'm helpless. I feel helpless. You know me, I don't do helpless well. I'm a doer. So if I don't know what's going on, I can't do anything. And I go, yes, I can. You can continue to send her an email once or twice a day. Yes, and Sandy's saying she wears, the device on her body that already gives her that. And that's, I'm looking at the same way in terms of my A1C. I don't see that as a critical thing. I know Jody can tell me, and somewhere in my system, I know that even where my blood glucose is, hang on a second, what was it this morning? Yeah. Yeah, my blood glucose was 7 in Canadian, hang on a second, which would be 126 in American, which I believe, if I can get it down to average, that would be, not too bad at all. However, what I'm worried about is my early morning one has been higher. And so this is dealing with reality, but if I don't take the right steps, and by the way, can you imagine what I was saying to myself as I inhaled that bag of licorice all sorts last night? And I was almost, I was almost in tears. But then I said to myself, when I took my blood glucose this morning, you see how well you did during the day, that you could have a whole bag of licorice all sorts and still have a blood glucose of 7. So you understand my humor. This is like, really, Sal, you work so hard and then you just shoot yourself in the foot. And so, the interesting, Kimmy's saying she was 129. Hang on a second, I've got to get my cheat sheet here. 129 is 7.2 after lunch. Yeah. So, because we talk different numbers here in Canada. And so that's fine, right? Because, my problem is I don't like my early morning, the first one I take when I wake up. Sharon said, I asked her what she needs to do. Ask her what she needs you to do that would help her the most. Maybe come answer her phone, answer the door, or mail record visitors. I don't know. Send thank you notes. Yes, and that's a good idea to actually give her some options. She's not even replying to the email, Sharon. So that is, I think I may need to make one call. So, yeah. Jody, it would be worth doing a bit of research on that, all right? Because maybe other viewers would like to know about it. And I wonder as well, if you've got it, then maybe we've got it too. Interesting. How does it work, Jody? Do you know? Have you tried it yet? Is it a bit like, the regular pokey thing? And yeah, Sharon, and that's what I'm thinking, that I might just make the call and go, honey, I'm sorry to call you. I just need to know. I don't even know if he made it through the operation. That's what I need to know, because then I know how to better help you. Right. Oh, they sell it at CVS. Now, I don't have CVS, but okay, interesting. So on my list of things to do, Jody, can you remind me to check into that to see if I can get it here in Canada? I'm drinking flat pop because I've run out of coffee. How about this one? how you make others feel about themselves says a lot about you. How many of you agree on that one? All right. It's not about you, it's about how you make other people feel. Sandy's saying, it's just like a meter, I think, but it must look at the sample a different way. Yes. And you know, what I found out, Sandy, is that I found that this calculator thing that I managed to find, hang on, actually shows you what the equivalent A1C would be. So I'd be very interested, Jody, whether yours correlates with that that reading. All right, because on this side it shows you the Canadian sort of version or international version, then the American version, and then this is what your A1C would be. So I'd be very interested, Jody, when you do your test, what it comes up with and whether it correlates with that. Let me know. Because if so, then then using this is probably not a bad idea. So I'm thinking if you are averaging, if you're averaging, I think I'm averaging 7 point something at the moment because it's up high. But even then, it says here that if I'm averaging 7.6, that my A1C would be around 6. So it's interesting. Yeah. So anyway, what I'm saying is that, I think the exciting thing is that because of the pandemic, we will get many more things medically available to us in a home kit form, because a lot of us are not going out. Amazon CA has one, really? Are they expensive? Wouldn't that be funny to actually do it and send it to my doctor? I'm gonna try that. All right, so just before we go, I want you all. Oh, okay. Sandy's saying it's not available on Amazon.ca. Yeah. All right. So if the states have got it, Canada's going to have it available on our Amazon pretty soon. So that's good news. What I'm saying is it's only a matter of time. It's probably getting cleared and whatever. And I believe this is just the start. I think we will be amazed what we're going to be able to get at home, because people are choosing. Can you imagine how few people are going to doctors right now? Can you imagine how that is going to affect the whole industry of being a doctor? They are going to have to find ways of helping us. The other thing that I am concerned about, as I said to Marnie yesterday, is the doctor can hear us, but are they really seeing us the way they used to? You understand? It's like, at least we had 15 minutes to talk to them before, but now it's like, is it the same? Because they can't watch our facial reactions unless they're doing a Zoom type one. So here is the reality. Things are changing and we should expect them to change. Things will never be the same again, and that's a good thing. And that we need to concentrate on how can I keep myself as healthy as possible? And how can I continue to talk about my feelings all the time to make sure I'm not stuffing them down? All right, that I am dealing with those things that are worrying me inside in here and talking about them. And that's why I thank you all for coming every week and talking about your feelings, because I'm hoping you can see that when we talk about them, it keeps us healthy. It's when we stuff them down And it doesn't matter that Sharon asks me something or tells me something and then I have tears come out of my eyes. That's a good thing. It means that Sharon helped me process that. Thank you, Sharon. It's not a bad thing to have a little cry. All right. It is about, I need to let that emotion out. I don't have to be strong all the time. I'm delighted that that emotion came out, because that means I'm not stuffing it down. I will see some of you tonight at 7 o'clock for our evening broadcast, and I'm looking forward to it. What I want to say to you all is, let's work hard together to keep as healthy, both physically and mentally, as healthy as we can during the next 6 months. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you for being here and supporting one another. And bye-bye for now.